Hello there, folks. Look at all of this colour. I'm surrounding myself with artworks that I've done to bring the energy to me. It's funny, actually. I've just finished watching a podcast and it was released in 3 parts. I actually took out a subscription, which I very, very, very rarely do, to UK Column, which is an alternative media news outlet. And they have loads of quite good interviews, actually, and things on there. But there's a series called 1,000 Words, and I discovered it through various recommendations on YouTube, through a site called Resistance GB. And the artist is called Jake Fern, J-A-K-E-F-E-R-N, F for Freddy. And basically it's a really interesting format. He's there painting a portrait of the person that he's interviewing, but they're having a conversation at the same time. And it's lots of interesting, awake people, people who were part of the mainstream and then discovered everything was bullshit and then looking for the truth kind of answers. And the conversations are really, really interesting. And the interview that I've just finished watching is actually with the podcaster that I subscribe to, James Delingpole. And it's so funny because James is a fantastic personality, real English character. He's been to private school, he worked in the mainstream media, he's written books, he's written articles, he does his podcast. He's brilliant. But there are various subjects that he's pretty much made his mind up on. And in the 3rd part that I've just literally finished watching that was released today, he and the artist were discussing flat Earth, which is, the big thing at the moment. And because the artist himself thinks that flat Earth is a psyop, that we do live on a globe, whatever you may think about that. The interesting thing was that James, whether he was trolling or whether he believes it truthfully, or genuinely, he basically accused the artist of being a gatekeeper. Now, the thing with James is he doesn't like people disagree with him. In fact, he really loathes it. And about 2/3 of the final installment of the podcast was them just going backwards and forwards. And it was sort of frustrating. Oh, for fuck's sake, just admit, James, that you really dislike people disagreeing with you. And the irony of calling this chap a gatekeeper when his own behaviour is gatekeeping, it's not lost on me. But the truth is that life is very, very simple, but we complicate things. And especially when we're having conversations with people. I know that in the past, I have been absolutely desperate to try and convince people of various points of view. But the thing is, most people's beliefs, they haven't rationalized themselves into them. So you're not going to win with logical arguments, decisions that people have made for emotional reasons. I actually blogged, and I can't remember if I actually did a video about it, but people do not rationally persuade themselves of things. It's emotions first, rationalization later, because people want to be right. So people will go out of their way and dig holes for themselves so deep that they come out on the other side of the globe. But when you think about your day-to-day life, there are a handful of things that are really basic. And I call them move your body, move your mind, keep walking your own path, cover all of the basics, and do it in a really enjoyable way, as spontaneously as you can. I actually went on an epic walk today, almost 26,000 steps, which for the average person would be at least 30 to 32, because I take very, very long strides with these legs. And it was a route that I sort of discovered fairly recently is a beautiful path that runs alongside the River Derwent. And it was over from this village where I spent the majority of my childhood and recently moved back to the village that I originally lived in. And it was 2 hours each way. And for much of the journey over there, it was actually raining. And I felt very, very alive in the process, because there's a sense of adventure to it, but deciding on things that we need to do on a daily basis and making those things the adventure, to me, is actually a really great way of building up the energy that builds the momentum to help you do all of the things that are more difficult, and sometimes feel like impossible mountains to climb. But when I got over to the village and had a coffee and had a really nice brownie and then made my way home and recorded my other video, did my content, it felt like a really, really satisfying day. And I'm here now recording this video thinking that I've ticked everything off the list today. And particularly in watching that interview, of the lengths to which people will try and prove their position right above all else. I'm never trying to prove myself right over other people. There is sometimes it might sound like I'm giving advice and I say, well, stop doing this and do that. What I'm actually sharing is stuff that's improved my life, and you can try it or not. And my advice always is to experiment and boil your life down to the really, really important things that make each day brilliant and healthy and keep you fresh and keep you young and keep you fit. That's what I want for every single person watching any of my content, reading any of my tweets, looking at any of my posts. It's for you to live the very, very best possible life. And I know that over the next few months and years that I'm actually going to meet some really incredible people. The more that I interact, the more people from various backgrounds and experiences, that they have, I find that really, really stimulating, because we're all working towards the same thing. It's why I'm loving that I'm going back to the actual physical gym, being around other people that are training. It feels like how we're meant to live, being out in nature, building businesses, working prosperously in the jobs that we already have. Whatever your circumstances are, that's not actually the most important thing. The most important thing is that you're doing everything in as productive and as simple way as possible, and a satisfying way, and absolutely wherever you are, making the most of it, which is how you carry yourself forward. You can only make progress in life when you actually accept exactly who you are, where you are at this moment in time, and anything else that you want will come from just being honest. And just when I was watching this guy, James, on this podcast, oh, for goodness sake, James, all of this half an hour, 3/4 of an hour conversation that you're having, this strand of the talk that you're having, all of this could go away if he would just accept that other people have a different point of view. And they do. And they're always going to have that until they decide for themselves that they're not going to. So don't waste your efforts on things that just bring the energy down. You can actually watch it happening on screen. The whole energy, it's really bright and light at the beginning, and then suddenly it's sort of getting grayer and grayer and grayer, and he starts making excuses and he's apologizing. We all have our beliefs, and we are all trying our level best to live our lives in the best possible way. And the more conscious you become of it, and the more simply you live life, i.e. focusing on what really matters, that makes you joyful, the more that you are going to get done with your life. So keep walking your path. Keep your mind moving. Keep your body moving. Be fresh, fit, young and agile. And live your very, very best life. The choice is always there, what you focus on and what you don't.